Hi, I'm Tolulope Kolade, Tcode, an African voiceover artist from Nigeria, and this is my podcast, Everything Voiceovers, the African Perspective Podcast, where I take you on a journey to discovering industry insights through expert interviews, practical tips, and personal anecdotes.
You can simply call this your go-to resource for all things voiceover related. Buckle up as we discover the art, craft, and business of voiceovers through a uniquely African lens on this episode. Enjoy!
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Everything Voiceovers podcast, the African Perspective. You know what it is. This is the 7th episode of season 3, and I am Tcode, your host, to talk about voiceovers from another African's perspective. I'm talking about my guest today, and before I go into who my guest is, again, as always, I want to say thank you guys for being a part of the podcast, listening and watching the podcast on YouTube. I haven't dressed like this corporate on the podcast before. If you're just listening, you have to go to YouTube to see how I'm looking. But yeah, I'm looking like this because today there's an event happening in Lagos. It's called the Voice Fest. So I just thought to gist you guys about it, to voiceover artist Nigeria, which launched today. It's a 3-day event happening in Tolulope local government in Nigeria. And I was there, and I tell you, it's been an interesting experience, especially the fact that we get to see a lot of the veterans of the voiceover industry talk about voiceover and trying to, teach the younger ones voiceover, because the concept of the Voice Fest for this year is to raise voiceover artists, young people who are interested. And I want to say kudos to the Association of Voiceover Artists Nigeria, which is headed by Mr. Segun Anrize, the popular Nollywood actor, who is also a veteran in the acting business in Nigeria and also in Africa. All right, so let's get to voiceover right now. Today, I'm also in the studio of the Voiceover Workshop. As you can see, it's looking beautiful. And you can see me in the background. I think I'm going to come steal the studio. So yeah, this is a testament to the fact that the voiceover business is growing. Last month, I was in Abuja at Sarah Johnson's Talk Studio, and today I'm here at the Voiceover Workshop. Maybe tomorrow I'll be at the Voiceover Academy or somewhere else. But I love to, tour the voiceover industry across the continent. And sometime soon I'll probably be in your country if you're not in Nigeria. Right? I look forward to that.
Absolutely.
Anyways, let's get into today's episode. Already you can hear the voice of a gentleman beside me, looking very handsome. He decided to put on his glasses because I'm putting on mine.
Because I can't be intimidated.
He's my brother from another mother.
That's right.
And we've been in this business for a couple of years now. I think we were in the same set, right?
Yeah.
By set, I mean we both enrolled to learn voiceover the same time, and that was in December 2020. So it's been a long time coming, man.
Actually.
It's almost 4 years. Wow.
Actually.
So this man right here is a voiceover artist, and he has grown in his craft. As it is right now, you see that I'm in the voiceover workshop studio, and John is perhaps you're like the main producer. Exactly, you get what I'm saying? So this man is the studio manager right here. So talk about production, he's got you, and talk about voiceover himself, he's got you. On the internet, is known as the Genius Voice or Genius Voiceovers, and is also dope in branding, because a little bird told me that you're going into branding. Ladies and gentlemen, this is John Kanu. Nice to see you, John.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
And I really want to thank you for this, going to say opportunity, right? Because, I love everything you do for the voiceover industry, home and across Africa. And it's how we are. You are one of the motivations for me, right?
Wow.
As the reason why I've not and will never give up on voiceovers, really.
Wow.
And that's it now. The idea is we all progress, and at the same time we're progressing, we're also tagging each other along the line of progress. So it's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here, bro.
Yeah, man.
And this conversation, I'm not sure it's going to be something serious. I just think is us talking about the journey so far. And one of the things I've been doing in this season of the podcast is finding voiceover artists like myself and just talking to them, having them tell me their story, tell you their story. And the reason is because I want people to be inspired. This season has not been so much of how-tos or what to do, what not to do. It's just been listening to people's stories to inspire them. And I have also been inspired so much. I'm going to drop this here, right? I didn't just wake up one day to say I want to be a full-time voiceover artist.
Actually.
That training that we went for, which was a virtual training, by the way, at the voiceover workshop. Shout out to King E.
Yes, so big time.
The founder of the voiceover workshop. The voiceover workshop and media. And you can see, what it looks like here in the voiceover workshop. So in that training, one of the facilitators, one of the OGs, Eric Maximus Ekweme. I'll always give Eric his flowers.
Honestly.
Eric is one of the most grounded voiceover artists in this country, in Africa, really. And it's literally one of the top voiceover artists.
Sure.
No doubt.
Sure.
Like, no argument.
Like, literally.
Anyways, in subsequent episodes, you're going to be meeting Eric. But the point I'm making is, I remember that time, I wanted to up my skill as a voiceover artist. But when I listened to Eric teach us voiceovers, Eric talked about how he is a full-time voiceover artist. And I was like, hold on a second. So people do this thing full-time. I was like, okay, that sounds nice to me. I think I want to try that out. Right? And I said if it could become a full-time voiceover artist, nothing is stopping me from why not? So I challenged myself, and I do voiceovers full time. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to try something else, and I think we should talk about that. You guys know why we're laughing real soon. I'm just saying all of this to support what you said about being inspired. Eric inspired me, King E inspired me, and a couple of other people too, and we're here to inspire each other, and I'm sure people watching are inspired. So let's talk about you. Why voiceover? Before we go to why voiceover, sorry, I think it's okay for people to also know what you do, like who you are before voiceover. From
voiceover. All right, so the name is John Mwachukwu Kanu, although most people know me as John Kanu, or some people know me as the Genius. Right, so aside voiceovers, or when I'm not doing voiceovers, I'm either doing videography, video editing, or I'm doing photography, and of recent, branding, full-time branding. Wow. Right, and just underneath as well, I mean, part of the skills I picked up from COVID, right, I also do some level of digital marketing, social media, running of adverts and all that, so yeah. Just to mention.
So you be cheat too. Someone they try to do full time. You dey. I like that actually. I like that.
Yeah, man.
I want to pose a question to you before we go to why voiceover. Do you think in Nigeria, abroad, we have people who are really full time voiceover artists?
Certainly.
From a scale of 1 to 10, how achievable is it for someone to say I'm a full-time voiceover artist? Because it's not easy, if we want to be honest with ourselves. Do you think it's something people should strive to become, or just flow? If it works for you, fine, or not? What do you think about being a full-time voiceover artist? Is it realistic?
So, is it realistic? Yes. Will it come quick? Never. It's a process, and like I always tell a couple of people that reach out to me and say I want to do voiceovers and all that, and I tell them that, see, this is like, you have to, it's almost as though you're signing a lifelong contract or something, that this thing, whether good, whether better, whether best or whatever, I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, then you have to actually take it easy on yourself and watch yourself grow. Right? I mean, those OGs we talk about, Eric Ekweme, King E, and the likes, they've paid it forward. Some of them have been in voiceovers for like 20 years, some over 20 years, right? And we hear their voices on major brands. So it's not something they just woke up to say, yes, I'm a voiceover artist full time. They struggled from the very, very initial states, right? But then they're here. So if they can achieve that in 20 years, right, at our disposal, I believe we should be able to do it in less. So yes, it's very, very achievable.
Very achievable. I agree. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. If there's just anything I'll add to that is that if that's what you want to do, it's also wisdom to
Yes.
have something else doing until you can get to that point where you are confident. I was in broadcasting for years.
Yeah,
And I was doing
certainly.
voiceover with it, and after a while, I was just like, well, now they stress me for this broadcasting. Like,
I know, right?
yeah. So I decided to just go do voiceover full time. Now let's talk about your story, your process. How did you come into voiceover?
Okay.
What inspired you?
Let me do like the way these guys say in all these conferences. Thank you so much for that. All right, so I discovered I could do voiceovers in the year 20 in the heat of the lockdown. So COVID was actually a period where I rediscovered a whole lot about myself. Now, I always say this to people and they're always like, so those that know me from way back, they know very well that I was a high-pitched guy, like vocally. I never had this depth of voice. So 2018, my voice dropped and I didn't even realize. So I was singing. I was the lead tenor singer in church back then, right? And we came for this rehearsal sometime in 2018, and then the normal tenor notes were the pitch normally now. But like everybody, tenor guys said do, and I'm like do, and I'm like okay, something is wrong somewhere. And then I was moved to singing bass, and I've been singing bass since 2018, 2019, and people kept telling me that you shouldn't just be using this voice to sing bass in the choir alone, right? You should try voiceovers, but I didn't give it any thought until COVID. Now, COVID, I literally I graduated 29 BSc elect. Finished with 2-1, so me no go be like,
shout out to you, man. No be like us, right? We go finish it. Who cares? Now, voiceover, they take
bro, So that period, I started undergoing lots and lots of rediscovery, right? Because I did elect, and every other company had tried applying to and all that. So no response.
Wow.
So I just went ahead straight up to start looking inwards, and I started having some researches. And for the first time, I opened YouTube and I just typed voiceovers. And the first person's video that popped up and triggered my fancy was Red Pepper. Red Pepper. Shout out to you, Red Pepper, like the thriller lord, literal thriller lord, right? Yeah. And I heard everything he was doing and all the once upon a time in a world, one man, and all that. And I'm like, bro, I think I really want to do this. And I could actually hear my depth of voice in his, right? Maybe not on the same level, but to a very large extent, very close to that, right? And I just decided that, okay, I started making a couple of more researches. And then I came across this particular, during COVID now, everybody, they teach something. Everybody do this webinar not to cook rice, webinar not to set up off. So I ran into a particular webinar that voiceovers was just part of the bonuses. So it wasn't the major thing they were teaching. What they were teaching was video editing. Voiceovers was just a bonus, right? And that was where I met the facilitator. Was Elizabeth. I can't remember her other name, right? Shout out to you, Elizabeth. I'm sure if she sees this video, she would remember.
Nice.
Right? So she was the facilitator then, and I remember the first class we had, and she gave us an assignment. And when I did my voice and assignment and sent, she entered my DM and she was like, bro, you should actually take this full time. You have the voice that would sell big, right? And I was like, wow, okay. For someone that's already an active voiceover artist, she was at the time, she was a voiceover artist and also an OAP, right? So I just took it upon myself and I'm like, okay. So I finished that particular training, had the basic knowledge of voiceovers, and guess what? We came out of COVID, I think July-ish, that's 2020. When we came out of COVID, people started returning to work gradually, August, September. So because as a result of my voiceovers, right, I got a job before even going for NYC at a telecoms company, right? And as a result, so they put me in the tech department. And one of these days, I think I had done 1 month there, the CEO of the telecoms company called me and said they just checked my CV again and they realized that, okay, I'm social media expert rather, and I'm also a voiceover artist. Yeah, that should advise them, what can they do to this, what can they do to that? And that was how they drafted me into telecoms team, and they even made me the lead of the digital marketing department, right? without just before doing my NYC. And when they now discovered that I could do voiceovers, and the voiceovers I could do then was like beginner. It wasn't anything close to this level or this level of growth, right?
Yeah.
But that particular level, beginner level, they still loved it.
Yeah.
And it was my voice that they were using to do demos to clients, and they were even, my voiceovers was converting potential customers to active customers in that particular company. And that was when I started realizing that, okay, this thing is actually it's actually a big deal. So that was when I now discovered. So hey, I think before December, we were doing this voice acting, voice of the week.
Voice of the week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So voice of the week was what made me.
Like, for context, right?
Yeah.
Voice of the week is a competition a weekly competition that the voiceover workshop organized, and people just they give us a script weekly, and people from anywhere would record and
tag
submit
them
and tag,
yeah,
and they would select the best
the
and
best
reward
every week. So voice of the week was what drew me to following voiceover workshop. And when I just saw that particular flyer for the voiceover training, voiceover acting pro course, season 5 or so, and then I remember I didn't have the funds at that point. I called my brother. My brother transferred the 15K there.
Yeah.
That
15K we paid.
15K,
Oh boy.
Wow. To a very large extent, that's still like the best investment in myself.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kingi's second part. Shout out to Consistent. Shout out to Kingi, man. So I registered for it, and that's when I met you, met Oiza, met some other great guys, Hector, Ace Wonders, right? I don't think Ace Wonders was even part of our set. I know it was Hector. And a couple of other people. So after that particular training, I knew very well that yes, to a very large extent, my voice, I went for NYC in March, and then after NYC, they still, because of my voiceovers, that company retained me to do my NYC there. So did my NYC, I kept doing voiceovers for them. Now I was not paid. Some Nigerian companies, right? Yeah. So I think along the line, this is one thing I always tell people, because it's real. I gave up on voiceovers. Yeah.
That's like between 2021?
Around 2021.
Okay.
Within 2021. I think October 2021. Yeah. I totally gave up on voiceover. I was like, bruh, I can't be doing this thing for free here, and I'm not even seeing all the guys that were reaching out to me and were like, help me do free. And I'm like, I'm a professional certified voiceover artist and all that, It was really, really annoying, but man. So at that point, I think I reached out to King E. And then King E asked me 2 questions. The first question he asked me was, do I believe my voice is worth being paid for in premium? And then, I think that was the only question he asked me. Yeah. And then he said I shouldn't rush to answer the question. I should take my time before I answer the question. And then answer the question. And then he now told me that let that answer reflect in the way I see voiceovers. And then he told me a lot of other things, and bruh, I rejigged again. Not long after that conversation, somebody called me for a voiceover gig, and my first ever voiceover gig, I was paid 75K. And I used the same company's equipment
to record. Wait, when you say your first ever, that means since you did that training,
bro,
till that period in almost a year. You never.
It was. I think the only ones I got were like 5K. Then that was the period where you would see voiceovers doing voiceovers 5K, 7K, 10K. Yeah. But I only got those ones maybe like twice. All the rest I kept doing was for free. Even the company that I was doing it for, they didn't pay a dime. Right? Yeah. So I got that particular gig, and I'm like, okay, bro, you go sit down here. You will grow in this. You will keep learning. You will keep relearning. And I think that was. We also had. So another thing that added to my confidence was Voiceover Conference 2021, the virtual session that we had. That also changed a lot of my orientation about how I saw voiceovers, and that really, really helped me. Now fast forward into 2022. So 2022, I told myself, okay, so let me put it out there to guys. If you want to grow rather in the voiceover industry. Yeah. Man, this is the industry where you would have to take the bull by the horn. Nothing is going to come meet you on your table at all. At all. You would be the one to make things happen. So 2022, I told myself, okay, guy, you are growing, you are going a step higher in this voiceover thing, right? So I think in May 2022, I took a loan of 200,000 naira without a plan to pay back because I wanted to get my voiceover equipment.
Oh, wow.
Right, from a family friend of mine. And as I took that loan, I added the few savings I had, and I got the mini equipment. I got the mic, I got the audio interface, I got.
Let me guess, the 80-20-20.
Yeah, sure, bro.
I think you reached out to me.
Yeah, I reached out to you.
Yeah,
that's right. So I got my 80-20, beloved 80-20 because man.
Yeah.
That mic is bro. Till tomorrow, that mic is still 7. So I got the 80-20. I got the audio interface. I got the Alcatron filter.
Yeah, that's the big box thing.
The box, yeah.
Yeah, the audio interface was Focus, right?
No, it was Presonus.
Presonus good.
Dual listen, yeah. And then what else did I even buy? Okay, the a.k.a. headphone. Oh, good. Yeah. K9, so those are the only K70 something, yeah. So those are the only things that I got with 235k. And a month before then,
say it again, so sorry.
235,000 naira.
I don't mean to break you in between of your conversation, but I just remembered just about yesterday or so on Twitter, we're talking about how it's so expensive to get mics now. And it's not even because the sellers abroad, the manufacturers are increasing the price.
No,
it's the
it's
currency.
just the current exchange rate.
Yeah, the current.
That's it.
So it's quite sad. But then, back to your story, right? You got your equipment.
So I got the mini equipment, and I got it, I think, the last week in May. So, and the person had given me the end of June to pay back, and I'm like, Lord, okay, no, the end of July to pay back, and I'm like, Lord, help me. I honestly, I mean, when my mom still asked me that, how do you plan to pay back? I said, I don't know. Right. So as I got it, the first thing I used those equipment to record was the Lord's Prayer. You remember that voiceover?
I remember that series. Every morning,
bro, every morning,
John gonna give us
morning scripture promises, bro. Yeah. Do you know that I did not? And if you notice, at the end of all those scriptural promises, I was not even doing any patronize me or something. I not even design flyer or logo and all that. It was just that I was doing. And from doing just that alone, I got 3 jobs. One paid 50, another paid 65, another paid 80. In the same month of June into first week in July. And that was how I was able to fully settle this BC. Clean, straight up, paid back. And I think a month after, I got another voiceover job of about 120 or so. And bro, it's just been going from there. So
you sure say me the Lord's Prayer like this.
Bro, I'm gonna go upload Lord's Prayer. Just go upload Our Father.
Okay,
man,
that's really cool.
So then I started thinking, okay, bro, you can't just make all this money and go and be spending, right? You have to reinvest.
Yeah, but you paid your debt.
I mean, I paid that, and that case was closed.
Wow.
Like till tomorrow, like so around September, I reached out to one of my friends that's a brand designer, and I told him, okay, this and this is my brand, this and this is the name and all that. And this guy designed the logo, designed the flyer, and that was. Okay, I think after that, I now got my voiceover business registered under CAC as well. And officially, Genius Voiceovers became in business, right? Well, hey, in that same 2020, I got, as a result of voiceovers. So these are part of the many blessings that people probably don't know that voiceovers would actually do or open for you, right? I got recommended to a US company, a US-based company. They needed a social media person for just 1 month, right? For 1 month, just 1 month, $400. So the person recommended me, and then I reached out to them. So we had an interview. So two American ladies. Hi, John. My name is Lynn. My name is Stacy. My colleague Lynn. Can we meet you? And then I just go. Hi, good afternoon. My name is John Kanu, an African Nigerian-based voiceover artist. I just sit about, and the next thing I heard was, "Wow, I like your voice. I really, really do like your voice. We needed to do this, and this. Can you do it?" And I'm like, "Yes. Congratulations, you got the job."
Wow,
bruh. Till tomorrow, I did not ask them why I wanted to work with them or anything like and all those my interview questions. Just that alone.
And they give you the job.
And they gave me the job. And I did it for 1 month. And
wow, this is cool, man.
This same 2022 again, I remember there was this casting call Remy Olutimai posted. Shout out to you, boss Remo. So he posted this, I think a Jordan company for an Al Jazeera Ed podcast, right? So I think it was a document. It was a like an audio drama about. Okay, no, I think it was a narration about Ojukwu or so. I can't really remember right now. It was as a result of using my studio gears to cast, to audition for it, that my voice got selected. And I also did that particular. See, guy, I think it was just 2 or 4 lines that I voiced during that live session. I connected with the white woman virtually via Zoom, and then we had the session, and within like 10 minutes I was done. And I think then it was $50, just like 3-4 lines. I think 1 or 2 takes, and the woman was like, "Oh, fantastic! Oh, great! Move to the next one, and great! Move to the next one, and that's it." And so that 2022 was when I now told myself, okay, so, and guess what? Every other company I tried entering into, I studied electronics. Every other company I tried entering into, bro, none of them actually worked. And it wasn't because I didn't have a great CV. It wasn't because I didn't know how to talk during an interview. It wasn't because of all that. But I feel like it was because God has probably said it down. Benny, no girls will be. This voice will I give you. And this was my industry. Now there you go, there. If you like, I applied to KPMG, different ones, Access Bank, different ones, bro.
Wow.
I wasn't given one, right? I wasn't given, in fact, not even the opportunity to go to the next stage or anything. Like, it was frustrating, right? But 2023, I just told myself, okay, bro, I think if I'm able to push this little in 2022 and I'm able to cash out this much, then there is definitely something in this industry for me.
Yeah.
So 2023, I started training people one-on-one. I've actually not done a full-blown training just yet. Sometime this year I might look at it, right? But then I've been training people personally. I started training people personally, and 2022 was when I signed 2 major retainerships for just a couple of months. And bro, I used those retainership deals to upgrade. You remember when I called in that I needed to get like a studio monitor and as at present, I look at my voiceover studio and the worth of it. Man, I just look at it and I'm just like,
now
come on now. So I mean, it's been interesting, really. Part of the skills that you would get to learn as a voiceover artist, you get to learn how to write scripts. Some clients will come and tell you, I just want this, I just want that. They don't know jack what they want, right? So I had to be the one to come up with scripts. Then another thing that came natural to me as a result of doing voiceovers is, bro, I don't know how God does it, right? I'm telling you, I just get into character.
Yeah.
And I remember hosting one event of recent, and by the time I was done, one of the organizers, okay, that was I think last year, October, one of the organizers came and she just hugged me and said, thank you. Because at the beginning of that event, they were really, really scared. They don't know how this thing is going to be. I mean, this is the first time they are using me as an MC for that particular event, and that was actually that was the first edition conference of that event. So they were very, very skeptical about my delivery. But at the end, in fact, some of the other people that attended were like, did you do this thing professionally? Did you learn? And bro, I've never attended a professional MC academy or anything.
I see.
It's all voiceovers, really.
MCing is one of those skills that you can find associated with voiceover artists, MCing, hosting basically.
Yeah, hosting, yeah.
And that's why most of us, we are either journalists, broadcasters, TV presenters, MCs, voiceover, because we use our voice and our artistic expressions every time. Both vocally and maybe even facially. I like to MC, but should I say I like to host? But I prefer virtual hosting. Like, I love that I do that.
You man that space very well, man.
Physical hosting, I'll probably just stick to my corporate hosting.
Yeah.
Because there's this thing in Nigeria where they expect MCs to also be comedians. You can see me doing my jokes on my podcast, like I can be very humorous, but for real life, I'm not going to embarrass myself.
Man, I feel you.
Shout out to you, bro. Your story is quite inspiring. And I think there's almost nobody that I interview who I don't find their stories inspiring. Mainly because our craft is not so conventional. There are not many of us that are taking it this serious. And I've observed that some people do it part-time, and all due respect to them, but for most of them, the part-time-ish concentration or attention that they give to the craft doesn't give them the ability to scale up well.
Yeah.
And I can't blame them, because they also need to focus on their main
Source of
craft
income.
and you know, also scale up at that. So those of us that are doing this, it's a risk, to be honest, right? Because you don't know when the next
gig is
gonna
gonna
come,
honestly,
right?
it's all on God, man.
Yeah, but there's a lot to learn from your story, your doggedness, continuity, and you know, that boldness. You will be the third person on my podcast that you know, went to borrow
Funds.
Yeah, I took a loan to start studio. You know, although one of them didn't talk about it on the podcast, but you'll be the third person. Anyways, let's talk about the challenge. Oh, I think one thing that a major landmark in your story is that studio. Let's talk about the importance and the challenge as well of setting up a home studio. Do you really think that if you didn't have that studio, you would have gone this far in your voiceover journey? Do you think you'd have?
Never.
So that means it's very, very crucial.
Very, very crucial.
So tell me about the importance, how crucial it is, and then we'll talk about the challenges of it.
All right. So first of all, you see this aircraft, right?
Yeah.
You actually don't have the second chance to correct a first impression.
True.
Once they've heard your voiceover samples and it's whack, and when I mean whack, not that your voice in the actual sense is whack, but the quality of the audio is whack, they move on to the next person. Sure. You are very great at voicing. You interpret, you enter character, you do this, you do that, and all that. And if you're not big on quality audio gears for your voiceover deliveries, man, that person's journey is gonna take a long time, very, very long time. And that's what I see many of our colleagues, especially those that haven't finished from our sets and the sets after. Now let me just dive right into it. Right, I remember the first time I set up my studio and I used my headset and I spoke into that mic. The feedback I heard.
See, now my voice be this.
Bro, I was like, no, listen, it's too sweet. And then I got to realize that, okay, this is why King E, all the other voiceover bosses would always tell you, invest in quality equipment. Your voice can be so great. In fact, your voice can be very, very sweet without a very good audio gear for your delivery. It just renders all your effort useless. Now, I'll end with this story of one of the voiceover artists. She came here to record, I think, earlier this year. And she was just telling me something. I think she came in here to record to audition on one of these pay-to-play sites. And she told me something. She said she just realized that she had been undoing herself for years. And why did she say that? She sat here that day. She now compared the difference between the mic she was using and this mic here, right? And she was just like, wow. In fact, that day she was just like, no, John, I have to gist you this one. Yeah. And she was like, this particular audition that she came to, this particular demo she came to record here, landed her a couple of other audition spaces. I think even landed her one of the jobs.
Wow.
On one of those pay-to-play sites. And I'm talking of those that pay in dollars, obviously not Naira, right?
Yeah.
So, had she not, recorded with a more quality equipment. In fact, from that day, she told me that, she's definitely going to save up to get, in fact, the studio microphone, in fact, our studio set up like this. By the time we did like an estimate that day here in the studio, it was already running up to like $2,500 or $3,000.
Wow.
Already.
Wow.
Because she said she's not even going for the cheaper and she's just going for the
quality.
very best, the industry best, right? And that's just what it is. I mean, my particular voice, I remember before I started using before I even got my voiceover gears, 5K, 2K free people were reaching out to me, right? From the point I got my gears and I started putting out contents with my audio quality. I noticed that a lot of them stopped reaching out to me. And I remember meeting one of them in church, and it was like, John, they hear the quality of the voiceover. I can't pay him. Yeah. So even like without you even knowing, it just truly sheds off some unnecessary, would I say clientele base, right? Just then brings you closer to the kind of clients that know and hear the value of what you're doing, and then will pay you for it. So it's very, very important. Now, talking about challenges, right? Yeah. Not everybody will be like me. Not everybody has that heart to go collect loan. There's really no be now way, bro. See, the word of what I got. One of my voiceover colleagues, which you also know, she still got it, I think, in February this year. And she used almost 500. She didn't buy, exactly, that's like double. And she's not even gotten the studio monitor yet. It's just the mics, just the major things to record. Yeah. Not the other gears that would aid in producing. Yeah. And I look at it and I'm like, then I took a loan of 200,000 naira. If I would take a loan now, I'll be taking a loan of like 600,000, right? Yeah. Now, not all voiceover artists have that heart to say, okay, let me take this loan, let me take that loan. What you can do, or what I can advise you do, is if you have colleagues, voiceover colleagues who live close to you and who already have their studio set up and all that, you can collaborate with them. Agree on maybe a price margin or something. It's for your own good. Yeah. You understand? Not for their own good. Don't even look at it as they are chopping inside your money. By the time you start doing that, you'd realize that a lot of things will start changing about your voiceover journey, and then by the time you're able to save up to that point, you'll be able to get yourself a studio equipment. That's if you don't have the heart to take that kind of risk I took, right? That's a better route, or a safer route that you can actually use.
Me, I always talk. I've been one of those campaigning against recording on your phone,
bro.
You don't know the disservice you're doing to yourself when you do that. Honestly, I don't want to know if it's the latest iPhone 15 or whatever,
or latest Samsung or whatever.
I don't care. Don't do that. If you're a producer, you will understand better.
Honestly.
Because how do you convert that to a WAV file? How? How do you record in stereo mode?
By the time you even do all of that, the entire audio
fidelity is
done. It's down. It's just
dropped. But people who haven't had their ears trained to understand audio, they will not really see what we're saying.
They won't be able to read it.
And to add to what John has said, right? Thank God, and that's why I enjoy recording in studios like this. You can see this is the voiceover workshop. It's open for voiceover artists who want to record. You come, you pay a fee, you do your thing, and you get the value for what you're doing.
Exactly.
So it's really important. Now, you were gradually answering a question I wanted to ask you, but I'm still going to ask. However, I remember you talking about how after learning for almost an entire year, you never got a key. Maybe like 5,000, 10,000 gigs, and that can't really be.
And that was cell phone recording, though.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So the question is how you got to that point where you're like, nah, if you guys ain't paying me 100, let's just say K, I'm not doing all 200K or 150K. Because it's one thing to learn. It's another thing to get to that point of confidence where you say, this is how much my voice is worth. This is how much I'm taking. And it's another thing too, to be able to stand and not succumb to the pressure. There are certain people that they know this is how much their voice is worth. But as per se, just run, they settle for less. And in the long run, they still are just around that base. Yeah. It's hard to. So how did you come out of that? What happened to you?
So I would say scalability is all about the mindset. King E would always see, King E is a preacher of your mindset. Your mindset. It's, truth be told, until I started seeing myself attracting those level of gigs, and I started having making that reflect in the quality of my voiceover deliveries, I never scaled. So first of all, your mindset, right? How is your mind towards voiceover gigs, right? Do you feel like, okay, just like Coca-Cola, for instance, now that's a bottle of Coca-Cola now is about 300, 400 naira now and all that. I mean, it's very affordable to the poor, the mid-class, and even the rich. Very affordable. So are you that kind of person? Is your mindset about, okay, once I catch 10K gigs, in 100 places, you get the amount of money that, no, you get like 1 million. Yeah. Or you're the kind of person that you'd want to pitch and place yourself at the pedestal where, okay, everything will take me to properly package and place to attract the kind of people that I want. I would do, for instance, I'm doing 100 people to get 1 million. I might do that for 2-3 years before I get 100 people to get 1 million. You, on the other hand, you package yourself. Your mindset is that, I know where the quality of value, people that place premium on this kind of craft, I know where they are. You place yourself properly and package your demos and everything, and then you shoot and you attract people that pay you nothing less than 150. Bro, in that next 3 years, you would have been cashing out like 10 million already, and I'm just having my first million. So it's all about mindset. It's all about mindset. If you need to learn to scale. You need to learn not to be. Yes, there is a part where virtually all voiceover artists started doing voiceovers for free. It's non-negotiable. Nobody really started out voiceovers and he already said it all started. Kingi would say that he did for free tire. All the boss a.k.a. and the likes, they did lots and lots of free jobs, right? Even you yourself, you know very well that you did. I did lots and lots of free, but am I still doing free 2, 3, 4 years after? You understand? So it's all about the mindset, right? There are people that will start voiceovers with the same class with you, and within 6 months, these guys are already doing voiceovers not less than 50K. And there you are, 1 year after, you're still doing voiceover of 15K, 20K. Why? Right? So it's your mindset until you make that mind shift. Yes. Until you have that mental shift about how you see these kind of things, then you begin to attract the right kind of.
I agree with you. Also because if I look at our industry, they have also positioned themselves higher. Just to add balance to what you've said, because it's one thing to also say at a scale, so my mind, so I one day, I see myself earning 100, 200, 500, a million naira in voiceover. I want to add to that by saying that as you are scaling in the premium of what you want to earn, also scale in the quality of what you're doing. Very valid. Very, very important.
Very valid. Very.
You know what I tell people? I remember last year, towards the end of last year, when Avoir put out a new rate card for the industry.
I use that rate card I use it very well, man.
To some class of people, the rate seemed normal. To some class of people, the rate seemed, we don't pass this one now. And, even though that class, they were not so much. Whereas to a huge class of people, the rate was like, this is much. More.
I remember
they charge like 100K.
Bro, I entered, I went to see one of my former bosses, right, on his birthday at his office. And so we were just discussing, and it was like, I saw if it was your association's new rate card. People want to be collecting blood money.
So, back to what I was saying, right?
Yeah.
So some people were struggling with the price, like, but if I tell them this amount now, will they pay me? And I say that it's not really about will they pay you or won't they pay you. If Avoir says you should charge 150,000 naira for a radio commercial for a premium brand, the question is, let me put it this way, that is what Avoir says is standard. Do you deliver up to standard? You get me?
Very, very valuable.
If you don't say what you deliver no reach standard, you yourself, you go no say that amount he there above me.
Honestly.
But if you know, say if you beat your chest, like you can vouch for yourself that I know I deliver standard, you can even go above their price.
Certainly.
So when people approach me, how much should I charge? And I tell them, and they're looking at it like it's a big deal. Okay, the next thing is, let's even hear what you deliver. And if I sense that delivery is not up to that amount, I'll just tell you, quite honestly.
Frankly.
This amount where they try to charge. Even the client self will not pay.
Exactly.
And I want to bring out something from what you said, right? When you scaled up your quality, some clients naturally dropped and the premium type came. So you need to also check yourself. if not just all this small cheap client they come, waiting you they deliver. Are you delivering quality? Are you delivering excellence? Your voiceover can a Coca-Cola listen to it and say, we want that.
We
voice.
love this.
Can it represent global brands? And that is the path.
Can it sell?
Can it sell? And that is where training comes into play.
Honestly.
You know, another part of your story that, it's not just you. The people I bring on the podcast and we talk, we invest a lot into learning.
Continuous learning. That's the industry, man.
We invest. I did voiceover workshop. I think I took the course. After that course we did in 2020, 2021, I came for a master class. That's where I met Oiza and a couple of people.
Yeah.
Then when I won the voiceover contest in 2021, I then came to Lagos in 2022. I spent 3 months.
Yeah, that was when we also linked up.
You know, I spent 3 months coming to the studio, learning every day.
I won't skip that part too. Do you know that? You know, you came with that month you came and that month you left.
The month I left,
2 months.
You
extra.
came and you spent 2 months.
And guess what? That was after that. It was after that period at Kingi's place that I now had the boldness to go collect that loan to get my
God bless you.
documents.
So there's something that excellence does. It rubs off. When you affiliate yourself, associate yourself with people who are excellent, your mindset also changes progressively. And that's one of the things that I enjoyed being with Kingi. Shout out to him. You know, the mindset thing you were talking about. Now, dear me too, I started to get confident to call some kind of prize. And you know, the truth is that me personally, I don't know about you, but when I took that boldness, it wasn't immediately that people started responding to it. So I was getting a lot of no's than yeses. But after a while, they got convinced. Like, the result was showing, and they're like, no, it's worth that price, right? So now, the way clients approach me is not about, this is how much we have. No, I mean, it's not from a position of, that amount is too much. No, they're like, we know you are worth so
amount. Or even more.
That's for those that cannot even afford
exactly.
Like, I'm not begging anybody. I'm not.
Literally, man.
Like, I can confidently walk away if you're not giving me what I want. But it didn't start like that. Well, that time I didn't know. It pepper me.
And it they come when you need that. You know, say that money where they even bring, you go sort that thing when they at the moment. But
no. Say I'm proud. But I mean, we out, right? So shout out to you, shout out to King E and everybody. I'm not sure there's any question. Let's just briefly talk about the voiceover workshops, upcoming event, the voiceover conference.
So the voiceover conference 2024. The theme for this year is Dare. The audacity to break new grounds, right? And it's happening. This year's edition is happening at Oriental Hotel on the 25th and 26th, yes, of June 2024, right? And this is the conference where you'd hear animation guys speak, you would hear the brand guys speak. And in fact, this year we are focusing more on the African markets, right? I mean, we're having, I think, around 7 or more African voiceover. And when I mean African voiceover artists, I'm not talking about local, I'm talking about global African voiceover artists coming to share their experiences, and then we're all coming together to learn together, to grow together, because it's in this kind of atmosphere that a lot of your questions gets answered, and you even get opportunity to ask lots and lots of other questions. And aside that, you get to network, I remember last year's voiceover conference, right? So the funniest thing is, I didn't even know lots and lots of people were seeing those my daily Bible stuff that I was doing, right? So I met Stephanie, formerly Anene. I forgot to know. I don't know.
She's Stephanie Chisom now. That's Voice of Steph.
Voice of Steph, right? So I remember meeting her, and she was like, I introduced myself as John Kanu. She's just like, oh, hi, John Kanu. And I'm like, the voice behind Genius Voiceovers. And she turned again, she was like, what? You are the one. Wow, guy, you do amazing stuff. You do great stuff. And I'm like, oh, wow. So for you to just know that, okay, people are actually watching Right. So back to the voiceover conference. It's happening this year. This year's conference is even free. I mean, now the other conferences we've
Shout
been
out to
paying.
Tcode.
Man,
Like
boss,
free.
Kingi.
It's happening on the island.
Oriental Hotel.
Yeah, Oriental
Right,
Hotel.
and it's a popular venue.
Yeah, so
right,
it's a
on
big
the
deal,
island.
and it's a 2-day event.
It's a 2-day
The first
event.
day
First day is
virtual,
yeah.
so you can.
Second day is
online,
hybrid.
physical, and I'll be there. I'll be there. John is definitely gonna be there.
Certainly,
the main top
certainly.
voiceover artist in Nigeria that you can think of.
And across Africa.
Trust that we're gonna be there. Physically, we'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So shout out to
Interesting.
Voiceover Workshop and Media. Bro, it's been a fantastic. I think I should bring this into my podcast where my guest also asks me a question.
Oh no.
I don't want questions. No hard. No hard, dude.
So, so I would say the question is there are a couple of voiceover artists, right, that have podcast ideas as well. So the question is, how exactly, like, what would you say? Because obviously, you run a successful podcast.
Oh,
It's successful, and that's why lots and lots of people are getting associated with it home and abroad, right? So you run a successful podcast, and you literally just started like 2 years ago, or is it even?
I started this podcast in 2021.
Oh, officially or unofficially?
This is 2024,
Yeah.
2022. I started officially 2022,
2022.
but I've been podcasting in 2019.
Right. So so that means that's like 5 years podcasting experience.
But this particular one is 3 years.
So the question would just be, what are the, would I say, steps or tips that you would want to give someone out there who's saying, okay, maybe my forte is really not the once upon a time and all that. I just want to have conversations, profitable, valuable conversations around maybe even not voiceovers, maybe something else that would also profit voiceover, the voiceover industry, right? So how exactly do they go about it?
This is a master class. Well, as far as I don't set myself. So the first thing I tell people when they talk about wanting to podcast is I tell them to talk about something they're passionate about. Something that if they wake you up any day, anytime, you want to readily talk about it. The thing is, podcasting is not something that is rewarding. It doesn't give you quick reward. It will be rewarding in the long run. And for you to get to the long run, you have to have been consistent and be enduring. Because nobody is going to pay you to do podcasts.
Actually.
You're going to I invest a lot with my money, with my time. I write to guests, I do a lot of things behind the scene. So if I'm not passionate about talking about voiceover, I would have dropped this
a long time
even
ago.
With the passion. Say get time, say I don't reach it. I
Really?
want to give up. Wait to say. But I just have to pick it up again because I just love it. And when people are always asking me voiceover related questions all the time online, I just feel like, okay, let me get back to this platform and use it to reach out to them and tell them the answers to these things. So passion is one. Let it be a topic that your life revolves around. That's another thing. I think one of the mistakes people do is you just want to talk about anything and everything. And it's not, for me, I feel everybody's even talking about everything and anything. There are many podcasts.
Too many.
So what is that thing? Are you passionate about food? Why not start a podcast about, like, passionate to the point that you know food to detail? What's that one thing you're crazy about? I would rather podcast about that. Because if you don't pay me, I can talk about it. But you see, the one besides, I just talk about anything. When I'm tired and I can leave it easily. So that's one. And secondly, I'll just say, because it's a lot, it's like I said, it's a masterclass. We want to start talking about it. So go and learn. It's like talking about voiceover now. I would always recommend go to an institution of learning. So learn about podcasting. Podcasting is just not what you see on YouTube. You can have a YouTube show and not a podcast, because podcasting is ingrained in what we call RSS. So every podcast has an RSS link, and that RSS is what generates that simultaneous distribution to all podcast or the podcasting platforms that your podcast can exist. So you have to now start learning where to host your podcast, how to record your podcast if you're just doing audio. how to edit your podcast. So are you going to be editing with the podcast hosting platform, or do you want to have a DAW, a digital audio workstation to edit your podcast audio? Then if you want to take a video, how to set up your cameras and all of that. Or do you want to also those are for people who want to become indie podcasters. Podcasters are independent podcasters, but if you want to do it such that you look for a podcast hosting or podcast service providers, they would do the entire thing for you. All you do is to come and record. They have the lights, the cameras, the editors, the graphic designer. They will do everything, but you will be paying. So are you ready to sacrifice that money, time? You look for guests. It's a lot of work. So
it's almost like a full-time job on its own.
My bro, but thank God for radio background. It trained me to be a producer, a host, and all of that. And I used to do graphic designs back then.
Guys, speaking of producing, if you see when Tcode they produce, my God.
Come on.
You think he's probably hacking some stuff? No, he's good.
It's fair to say we are cut from the same cloth because your producing has really, really.
Well,
I still want to learn some things from you. Because for you to be the producer for Voiceover workshop, you be boss now. I can't go and roll. Anyway, it's been a very interesting episode, right? And I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, perfectly. So, guys, if you need more information, you know who to meet now.
Truth is that some of these things we teach them. Like you mentioned, doing one-on-one. I also do one-on-one training for voiceover artists. I'm just putting this out there. I'm putting this out there not just even because I want to sell this.
Whatever,
It's, to be very honest, it's a lot of work. The work that we do, training people one-on-one, is nothing equivalent to how much we are paid. So it's a lot of work. So it's not my best opinion to push it out there because I won't even be able to manage, But I'm saying this particularly because I want people to take the extra step of learning. I paid the sacrifice to come and stay and work under Kingi, serve. That's the way I would put it. For good 3 months. It wasn't to be paid. No, it was, boss, I want to work and serve. And I did that. And then you did that for another 2 months. And what that did was it upgraded our mindset. So there's something with when you learn under someone, when you are mentored, that's the word. So I'm just encouraging people. Some people are in a crossroad where they've gone to learn from this place, learn from that. I mean, talking about like institutions of learning. And they still feel like they're alone. Sometimes what you need is someone to hold your hand or somebody to like be there in your walk. So that's like I tell people there are 3 categories of learning. One is when you learn with institutions. You're in a class of maybe 20, 30 or so. Attention and not singular attention. So that works, but that has its limitation. There's another level where you need somebody to be there. So listen to your voice and say, go and do this again. I want to listen. Go and do this again. And that doesn't come cheap.
At all.
A lot of people come into our DMs to want us to critique their work or give them advice and all of that.
And one advice we give them, they're off.
That consultation, if now abroad you they do, we go pay. So it doesn't come cheap. So if you enter my DM and I tell you to pay a certain amount of money for mentorship that will span for weeks or months, it's actually worth it. But I'm trying to say, in essence, embrace and cherish mentorship or learning. Increase your mindset. Listen to the podcast and, be a better voiceover artist.
That's right.
My G! It's been a great conversation, man.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
Thank you for your time. And we will be seeing you guys at the Voiceover
Conference
2024.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll drop the link to where people can find you. How can people find you on Instagram?
All right, on Instagram, I am the John Kanu, THE John Kanu. On Instagram, on X, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and virtually all my socials, I am the John Kanu.
All right.
And then my voiceover platform is Genius Voiceovers. So just at Genius Voiceovers. We rank number 1, actually.
Where the rest of us got dinner?
No, for Genius Voiceovers, they know now.
All right, just kidding.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, John.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks to the Voiceover Workshop for.
I'd like to end with this, right?
All right.
Two things.
All right.
The first one is This is Everything Voiceovers by Tcode. And then remember, like Kingi would always say, talk is cheap,
But your voice.
your voice
Can
can
be
be
expensive.
expensive. That's right.
Sure. That's what Kingi would say.
guys.
Man.
Guys are big. When I get that.
All right, guys.
Wow.
See you in another episode. Till then,
Amazing.
have fun. Bye.
Peace, guys.
Yeah.